Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Life Strategies with Nat for the Entrepreneurial Woman. I am your host, Natalia, and here every week helping you thrive and live your best life. I'm here in beautiful Burlington in Ontario, and it's nice and sunny today. So I'm actually co-hosting today with the lovely anxiety strategist Danielle Grassi, sorry. I'm just so excited to have her on the show. I'm just going to actually add her in. Introduce herself before we get started, sharing with you 3 steps to gaining clarity. Hi, Danielle, how are you?
Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you.
You too. Oh my
Hello,
goodness.
hello.
Hello. We've been planning this for
Ah,
for quite some time. How are you?
yes, we have. I am so great, and it's such a beautiful sunny day, and so that means it's going to be a really good live. So anyone that's tuning in, kind of jumping on now, oh, so excited. So excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for allowing me to come in your space and just co-create with you.
Oh, it's going to be fabulous. I'm really excited because, and I know we were talking about this,
Yeah.
but the way we feel is really so important and plays such a huge role in how fulfilled we feel, not just in business, but in every area of our life. And so, I know when we
Yeah.
were putting together what we're going to talk about today, we were thinking, we came up with 3 really
Mm.
key steps. And Danielle and I are basically just gonna we're just gonna kind of go through it. I don't know if we
Yeah.
should introduce the 3 steps or we should just go through it, but if I could just start and say,
Mm.
when you feel joy, when you feel happiness, you have this excitement in you. You have
Mm.
this inner, I don't know what it is. This confidence kind of just starts to grow and build.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then when you feel sadness, anxiety, overwhelm, fear, it can keep us in this space that we're playing so small.
Yeah.
And we don't have the
Mm.
energy or the mindset to keep going. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to look at my notes here because I
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
a few. I didn't want to leave anything out. Did you want to add
And
anything before we get started?
well, I was just going to say, while you look in the notes, I'm going to add that we just get distracted by the problem. And with the same energy that we're distracting because of the problem, we can't find a solution because they both don't add up. A problem has a different frequency than the solution itself. So I think, sometimes we get into a fog state, as you mentioned on your post, where we come into this area where we're kind of bopping around and we go, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. But once we loosen those reins and go, maybe I can just do a little step and then another little step and then another one from here, it just changes the conversation and it changes the momentum and the action that's going to be taken.
100%. And I think you
Yeah.
hit it right on the nose when you said momentum.
Yeah.
Because we can have all the potential in the world, we can take all the action, we can
Yeah.
get all the results.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about that, but if we don't, take the results and kind of just keep going,
Yes.
then it doesn't matter how much potential you have, or it doesn't matter how much
Exactly.
action you take, or, so I know one of the and the other thing was like about building that growth mindset. So that
Mm.
is something that is going to come out of today's conversation
Yeah.
is not only 3 steps to clarity,
Yeah.
but building this like unstoppable growth mindset that kind of comes with all of these baby steps, these little
Yeah.
actions that we do. And I know you've seen it too, but with people
Yeah.
that we work with or we talk to,
Yeah.
it's amazing what people can do in a year when they just decide to make the little changes,
Mm.
right? So
Exactly.
I think one of the first things we wanted to talk, the first step is about being vulnerable, isn't it?
Correct. Correct.
And Brene Brown, I love her. She talks about this a
Yeah.
lot, and it's nice to see that people are actually talking about it. But you know, I'm just going to throw it out there. What is vulnerability? Let's maybe touch on that question, because maybe some people don't. I mean, we hear it all the time, but it's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to kind of really take it in and understand what that means. So it's being vulnerable to take risks. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and being courageous enough just to be yourself. I think
Yeah.
we're hidden behind a face of what other people expect of us, what other people want from us, um, what other people deserve from us. If we find that, especially women, if we find that someone is not, at our status just yet, we kind of want to help them out a little bit more. But sometimes we dim our own light doing so. So it's being courageous enough to stand up, even if we're going to be unpopular. That's what vulnerability means to me. And I think, I mean, we both spoke about that, is having that extra step of vulnerability is something that maybe some of us weren't taught growing up because our parents didn't know. This is kind of new information, and feeling your own feelings and feeling into the body of who you really are is a topic that's just starting to arise. So a lot of people are going, okay, let me learn a little bit more about this, or let me know a little bit more about this. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
like not needing to feel like you have to be strong all the time, that you have
Yes.
to, you know, push through, work through. Like I know
Yeah.
it can be a coping mechanism, absolutely, but you know when we
Yeah.
are in that space or some life event has happened and we just want to consume ourselves with work,
Mm.
anything to numb the feeling, to not feel our way through it.
Yeah.
And, you know, what happens is that we end up pushing all these feelings down. And then
Yeah.
then we start to internalize a different story, a negative story that keeps us in
Mm.
that fog. And I think to your point, it's allowing yourself to embody your core values and
Yeah.
really just step into your true self, regardless, like you said, of got this palm tree here, regardless of you know, your upbringing and what
Yeah.
you've taught.
Yeah.
Were you in the corporate world before?
I was in the corporate world for a really long time, and was always told to do it a certain way, that you're
Yeah.
only the clog in this wheel, even in upper positions, right? Um, and to me, I always knew that there was a deeper knowing of who I was really supposed to be. And I followed that deeper knowing. And I didn't know where it was going to take me or where it's going to lead me. And I still don't know. And that's my own vulnerability, saying, hey, I've hit these steps, but guess what? I don't know what's 20 steps down the line, 100 steps down the line. That's a new me. I'm constantly recreating myself into something new. I know a lot of people that are in corporate or taking internships and then going into corporate and going, okay, well, these are my 150 steps and this is what I'm going to do. And it's almost mind-boggling to me, because is that your choice, or is that a choice that was given to you? I was always following the choices that were given to me instead of following my own feeling and my own gut for the choices that I thought were right. And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but I was always following down the line of, okay, well, I guess, that's status quo. That's going to keep me happy, satisfied at this time, safe. That's a big one. Safe and loved are huge. That's what's going to keep me safe and loved. And that just ended up kind of destroying me, because I wasn't happy. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize who I was. Um, and I bet you can really relate to that, because, you kind of get into this, okay, we got to do this, this, and this, and this. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, 100. I totally agree. And yeah, I do share definitely some similar sentiments. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a great career for the longest time, and I went back to school and
Yeah.
did my MBA and CPA because I thought, that was
Yeah.
the next step. And I had amazing opportunities growing up. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of story. Like I really had a blessed and fulfilled childhood and
Yeah.
upbringing.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of, you get to a point where it's like, okay, what do I want? Like, what does Nat want?
Yeah.
What does Danielle want? And then, you
Yeah.
start to kind of build this inner conflict,
Yeah.
not to no fault of your own. It's just you
Yeah.
feel this deeper, like you said, this deeper calling, this deeper knowing that there is something more for you. And so for me, it was just, I think it was more so the environment that that really pushed me to really kind of wake up and say, I don't recognize my life. I don't recognize who I am. Like, this is not the person
Yeah.
I thought I was going to, like, I wanted to be. And so you kind of, like,
Yeah.
for me, I had to actually take a leave of absence to really reconnect with mind, body, and soul. And that's a whole other,
Yeah.
topic of
Yeah.
conversation. But I think it's kind of tying in nicely to the next step, which is, how do you hold your power?
Yeah.
How do you step into that power?
Exactly. And I was just going to ask, I bet you received so much backlash from your decision because everyone's going to have an opinion about everything. So, how did you hold your power? How was that possible for you in order to say, you know what? I'm actually going to follow who I am instead of trying to please everyone around me.
That's a great question. And I think for me, it really had to do with reconnecting to that, I'm going to say inner child, but like that
Mm.
really quietening down the mind. So like I went and I did what I wanted to do. I did things that filled my cup with joy first and foremost. So it
Yeah.
was like I did a road trip in Spain. I went to Bali and did a yoga teacher's training certification for
Mm.
not to become a yoga teacher, but to just have that experience, that 21
Mm.
days, that like just really, I learned so much about myself. And I
Mm.
think the more you start to fill your own cup, and I hear this used a lot, but to
Yeah.
really like do things that fill you up with joy rather than doing things that you should do, or
Yeah.
that really sparked it for me. And then it was just like it kind of just was like a ripple effect. Like every little step
Mm.
I did took me, like it made me stronger.
Yeah.
I dealt with emotions that I
Yeah.
didn't really deal with before. Like I was
Yeah.
terrible. I was a people pleaser. I was, always doing things for others. And I think we can get stuck in this thing where it's like, you have all the potential in the world. And I was touching on this earlier, and you take action and you get results, but when you don't get the results you want, for me, it was like I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
really messed with my momentum. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
back to the last 2 years of corporate, but that's when I knew, like, I was like, first of all, it's like a signal to change. But yeah, I think if you can reconnect, give yourself that joy again,
Yeah.
then you start to the fog starts to lift and you start to see a different path for yourself, the one that you truly want.
Right.
I don't know. Tell me about your experience.
Yeah. So definitely had the backlash. I was more so scared of not what other people that I didn't know think of my life choices, but the people that I depended on the most. So again, for me, since, and you mentioned this in the post, but for anyone who hasn't seen the post, my mom passed away in 81 days. So from cancer. And so this was so fast. So I kind of lost a little bit of that love and security. So it really opened me up to, and harnessing my own power was to love myself and to love myself like no one else could in this world, because I always gave that to my mom. That was my mom's job, was to love me. I'm, an only child, and it was all doted on me. I sound like a like a priss or whatever, but
No.
that's just kind of how it was. Of course, she had that parent role, and I was the child, but if there was a problem, I would call her up and we would go through that problem, and then that love and support wasn't there anymore. So I had to change wheels pretty quickly and say, okay, how can I love myself like this? and harnessing that power, not just through corporate, but knowing I have to do that through my own business adventures too. What I'm going through and what I'm navigating through. And I wrote something down, is I always thought I had to put so much effort into everything I was doing. And I thought the more effort, the more clarity I would be getting. But in actuality, it's quite the opposite. It was the happier I was feeling that allowed me to get the clarity I needed. So backing away from something for a little bit and allowing whatever space needs to come through me. I usually, when I have prospects, people are asking me, oh, okay, so what exactly do you do for me? And I'm like, well, to be honest, I step out of the way, and whatever comes through, and it's for your advantage. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that's very interesting. But knowing that on a deeper level, I have to know myself, and I have to hold that absolute truth and that absolute knowing for someone else, for them to truly get it and truly understand.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you're right. Like it is all about self-love
Yeah.
and self-acceptance and
Yeah.
getting healthy from the inside out and
Yeah.
eliminating toxins. Like it can be so many things, but
Yes.
I think you hit it. And I think we're both saying the same thing. Like it
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
starts with,
We are.
it starts with like you have to find what makes you happy, and you are the only one that can validate you. Like I like you, I looked for validation from my boss, from everywhere else, but I couldn't find it within myself until I could, if that makes sense.
And were you ever taught to give yourself permission to do so? Like, were you ever taught to actually love yourself? Like, go meditate, like at a very early age. I know this is kind of coming into schools now, but were you ever
Which is
taught,
great.
which is amazing. I'm like, man, I wish I had that growing up. I wish I knew this. But were you ever taught to actually love yourself? We're taught to give to others, but
Yeah.
we're never really taught to give to ourselves. So I don't know what your experience is on that.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I'm trying to even think and reflect, and you're right. Like, and I had wonderful parents, wonderful family. I had so much love given to me, and yeah, I don't think I was taught to learn how to find that or connect with that. I mean, you love yourself, but like
Oh
to that
yeah. Oh
point
yeah.
where it's like parent, like you hear it all the time from parents, especially. They're like, love yourself like your children,
Mm-hmm.
or love yourself like your fur babies, because like
Yeah.
you can send them off to school with a nutritious lunch, and
Yeah.
they've got enough sleep, and then you are there like hustling
Yeah.
on no sleep. You haven't made lunch, you're gonna grab like I don't know what on the go. Like it's
Yeah.
little things like that make a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
um
I
and maybe
completely
that's
agree.
about, maybe we can jump into the third step, which is
Yeah.
really about,
Letting
letting
go.
go,
Yeah.
letting go of expectations, letting go of, just any negativity. What, what do you think?
This one was definitely the hardest for me. And because I had to let go of the expectation that others around me couldn't do it for me. And I had to do it for myself. And I don't know if you have a story about that as well, but it's the idea that the expectations just hold us back, because it's bringing in that productivity, that kind of what we talked about in the first areas,
Mm.
bringing in that, and first step, bringing that productivity that's not going to serve you. It's that mental energy that's not going to productivity, not going to productivity, but it's going to something completely different.
Yeah.
And I think we just get wrapped up, and the ego wraps us up so much into, oh, I have to be right, I have to get this, I'm bigger and better. And it's like, but what does that serve in this moment? Like, what does that do to the overall experience of life and the creativity? I've noticed that my own creativity will just drop if I allow ego to take hold of really what I'm doing here on earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I like to add to that, I think the letting go is like the non-judgment.
Yes.
And it kind of falls into what we were talking about earlier, but you just, if
Yeah.
you're, for me, I just always felt like I was judged. Like everything I did was, and was wrong or whatever. Like you can tell yourself so many stories that just really are not factual.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, and I mean, I talked about this for the last few weeks, and I know you talk about it too, but like that imposter
Yeah.
syndrome, like letting go of the
Oh my goodness.
perfectionist in you, and like having to feel like everything is perfect before it goes
Yeah.
out, or and
Yeah.
I say this a lot too, but it life is a journey. Like, and if you don't
Yeah.
try, you're not going to know. And if you don't
Yeah.
fail, you're not going to be able to pick yourself up and
Yeah.
try again. And um, I think that's where a lot of people can't let go is when they hit and when they get the results that maybe they weren't expecting, or
Yeah.
maybe they weren't hoping for. And
Yeah.
so you have the people that give up. They're like, oh, I
Yeah.
tried this once and I guess I suck, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah.
And that's just such a shame because if you look back at, I mean, Albert Einstein and like, oh, like you can go back, I don't know
Everyone
how many
fails.
years,
Yeah.
everyone fails over. Henry Ford, like it took him, I think, 2 years to get his car up and running. And engineers were like, no, it's not happening. Like, give up. And he was like,
Yeah.
no. And it's
Yeah.
that level of certainty within you
Yeah.
and that ties into that inner knowing, that inner knowledge, but that
Yeah.
certainty that I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And just because I fail a little bit on the way, those are actually lessons learned. Those are actually
Yeah.
pivots that I can take to try something different or maybe go back to the drawing board and figure out what went wrong. But it's asking those questions like, what did I learn? What went wrong? What worked?
Yeah.
Because I think we also sell ourselves a bit short in terms of our achievements. We focus so much on what didn't work that we don't take the time to acknowledge ourselves for what does work and what we have achieved.
And have you realized that in your own life? Like, did you realize something was actually supposed to expand you rather than contract you? Like,
Yeah.
I have a friend per se, and she was in the process of buying a house and everything fell through, didn't get the house. And then she met a guy and had to move states anyways. So, and of course, in that moment, so upset about not getting that house. But then it's like, well, you would have had the burden of the house and wanting to have this relationship at the same time. So, um, can I ask if you have a concrete example of something that like you totally failed and then it actually rather expanded you to be amazing and the amazing person you are? Yeah.
Bless you. And yeah, I have a million stories, but
Yeah.
I think the one that sticks out to me the most is when I left corporate, I decided, and I went on my journey. I fell in love with Spain and I decided to move to the coast. And I decided that I was going to open up a yoga retreat. I was going to get a villa and I was going to host yoga retreats. And what ended up happening was I looked for months for a villa that, um, but I'll just finish the story. I think we did lose her, but I'll just see if I can get her back on just while I'm telling the story. But so
Sorry about that. I got
that's
a
okay.
call and I'm like, no.
Oh, I hate when that
And it
happens.
ended.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Oh, so my apologies.
No, that's okay. So I was just saying, like, when I decided that I wanted to relocate to Spain, not relocate, but live there for the winters, really, I had this plan. I still have the business plan for it. I was gonna launch my own yoga retreats. I was gonna get a
Oh,
villa
wow.
and I was going to host retreats, yoga retreats, maybe even go as far as to create like a wellness center
Wow.
in the south of Spain. So I spent months and months and months trying to find the perfect location. And I was going to invest with a few other people. And then it went to, okay, let's look at something to rent, because the housing market was ridiculous at that time. And then we were looking, and it just was like obstacle after obstacle, like whether it was applying to the city and it was just in the wrong location. But it took, a good few months to say, you know what, okay, this isn't happening. I actually want to focus now on my coaching, because I had it in my mind that it would be opposite. I would do the yoga retreats and incorporate my coaching there. But now, at that point I decided, no, I'm going to invest 100% into my coaching, into my mentorship skills and business. And that's how, I wouldn't be here today, I don't think, if it didn't turn out that way. Like, I wouldn't have decided to refocus. I didn't give up. It was still part of the plan, but I shifted. I could have easily said, forget this. I'm leaving Spain. This didn't work. Yeah. I'm going to go back to a 9 to 5. But I didn't. And I think I wouldn't have got to that point if I didn't do so much inner work. And if I didn't connect to a coach myself, like if I didn't have coaching myself, someone who believed in me when maybe I didn't, to keep pushing me, not to the sense of like pushing you to do things you don't, but helping you see beyond your own limitations, beyond your own comfort zones, pushing you, like helping you create those success habits, those routines, those things that you always hear about and you always see like everyone doing, and you're like, yeah. And so, that's my example, that I wouldn't have built my signature program or my mentorship program or even had this show on to help other people to really give back. Like, that's what excites me now. Like, that's what I just jump out of bed in the morning. Like, it's incredible. And I'd love to hear if you have a story or a concrete example, because I'm sure we do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Name which one.
Right.
Absolutely. So for me, and it goes back to my mom, when my mom passed, I was working from my head and not my heart, because my heart died with my mom. And I didn't realize that for a really long time. And so I always knew I wanted to go in business for myself. And I took avenues that were only head driven and not heart driven. So none of them worked out. None of them panned out. I learned a lot about myself and learned kind of why I was doing this, and was able to work with my own mentor about why I'm doing this. And it's like, oh, that's right. I'm trying to keep my mom alive by, pushing away what was so dear and heartfelt to me, because that's where she was getting it from, and just work logically. And of course you need that logic and heart together, but I wasn't listening to my heart at all. Yeah. I was rather just listening to what would keep me safe and occupied, which no one wants to run a business with just being safe and occupied. You want that fulfillment and that love and that beauty, grace, and journey throughout your adventures themselves. So that was the biggest turning point for me in my business. I was like, well, I can listen to my heart later, but I really need the safety and love right now. But it was false. It was a false sense of safety and love, and a false sense of gratitude, which really, grief is only repressed gratitude. And it took me a while to learn that too. Actually, I heard that from my mentor's mentor. And I think it's such a beautiful saying, where grief is just a repressed gratitude, because it makes sense. I have so much gratitude for what I had with my mom, and now what I have now. And it just makes so much sense through my journey that it happened this way. And I found a lot of meaning in it.
I love that.
so it was working from my heart, not my head, which was my failure, my rock bottom, or one of the rock bottoms that I had, and then changing it around and going, okay, really, what do I want? How can I serve and value myself while valuing others at the same time?
Yeah, I love that. That was beautiful, Danielle.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think it's amazing just how life events and the struggle is that's what pushes us through. That's what gives us those light bulbs. That's what helps us reconnect with the heart.
Yeah.
And reconnect mind, body, and soul. Just the whole connection, to really understand that life is a journey, and it's going to knock us down a few pegs quite a few times. And it's how we choose to get back up, how we choose to see the world, how we choose to talk to ourselves. Like, there's so many of us that tell ourselves, and I was guilty for this for the longest time, but those negative stories that, and and this is kind of a different topic, but not really. It's kind of like, the conscious speaking to the subconscious. And, the stories we tell ourselves can get pushed so far into our subconscious that it actually dictates and like our behaviors. And, I'm not going to get into it because it's a totally different thing, but it's all connected. And, so brave for you to acknowledge yourself for that and get that mentorship and give back.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well,
one thing I want to add to that is I felt like I was always pushing away feelings, suppressing or pushing away. And I found that one thing that really helped me was actually love on the feelings that I hated. And I know that sounds kind of like, what do you mean love on those feelings? They actually go away. They're not suppressed anymore. You bring them up to the surface and it's like, it's a done deal. It's a done deal.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I talk about feelings a lot as well. And because they are there for a reason. Like, we have this incredible ability to feel emotions and emotions and feelings. They're there for a reason. Like, when we're upset, we need to feel upset. When we're angry, we need to feel angry. It's not about putting on like a happy face and pretending everything's hunky-dory. And I remember I used to do that a lot. I used to, like, if to the outside world, I was like, happy-go-lucky, life was great. But internally, if you don't feel that, if it's the total opposite, then at some point you're going to break. And, I think you and I both, we both, everyone hits those rock bottom moments, right? But that's huge, because, I see a lot of people, and I used to do this too, like, just drown themselves in their work, or like, and I mentioned it at the beginning, but for those of you just joining, it's so easy to want to distract ourselves, whether it's feelings or whether it's a task that we don't really particularly love, but we know we have to do. Knowing what those priorities are, and going back to like knowing what you want. And stepping into your true self.
Exactly. And if it's not what you want, it's not going to end up being anything good at all, because it's not what you really want. Kyle Cease, I don't know if you listen to him, or if anyone in the audience listens to him, he always says, if you pee in one part of the pool, you pee in the whole pool. So it's like,
I love that.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. So it's kind of like, okay, well, if I'm going to add a negative energy in this part of my life, then it's just going to trickle in all the other places in my life. And it makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. What have I been like putting in my life that I shouldn't be? And oh my goodness. But once you go, oh, okay, you know what? I accept it, and it's okay. And now I know I need to change it.
It's so true, though, because and my mentor says this, like, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So if you are, lackadaisy in your romantic life or family life, chances are you're going to be lackadaisy in your career and everything else that follows. So it's really about looking at taking a good hard look at yourself and who is the person that I want to become? Who am I really, truly? Who do I need to be right now to be able to do the things that I want to do and to be able to have the things that I want to have?
Yeah. I love that.
So it's been great having you, Danielle.
Thank you so
It's been
much.
wonderful. And I don't know if you had any last words or if you wanted to tell everybody a little bit about where we can find more of you, because it's just been a fascinating conversation. I just loved every minute.
Thank you so much. Same here. My appreciation and gratitude to you as well. Feel free to find me. My name is Danielle Kean Grassi. I'll definitely be attached here. You can DM me. You can also reach me at ask@keanstrategies.com, KEANSTRATEGIES. I have an one-on-one anxiety business audit for people looking for more money, time, and value for others and in their business. That's a little bit about me. And what about you?
And feel
Even though
free
I know
to,
you're hosting.
Yeah, feel free to pop the comment. Feel free to pop your link in the comments below.
Perfect.
And for me, I'm going to be sharing this in my. I've actually just changed it. So if anyone's been following me for a while, you would have seen the change. But if you're new, I did create the group. It was Life Fulfillment Academy Community, and I changed it to Life Strategies with Nat. About clarity, business, mindset, because I wanted it to be more inviting. I wanted it to be a bit more fun. And I wanted to be a safe place for people to learn from each other, to share wins, we do daily challenges, which is helping you take those little steps. If you're not ready for a mentorship program, because I do offer a 6-month premium mentorship program where I help entrepreneurial women really reach next level of success by getting clear, by overcoming unhealthy habits, and really developing that unstoppable mindset so that you can just live your best life. And it's not just about business. It's taking that holistic approach. And that's why I love having guests like yourselves on here, because, we're all in this together. And I truly believe that we shine brighter together. And I'm so thankful to you for sharing your story, being vulnerable, and just making this such a great episode. I can't believe we're already on episode 20. That's wild.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Oh.
So look out for Danielle's link in the comments, and hope you guys had a wonderful time here. We've enjoyed having you, and much love. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.